Hello everybody! Today I have another review video for you all. Hooray! And if you remember in my last review video, I said that I was gonna talk about this Ant-Man figure. And this is not the only LEGO buildable figure like this. There are multiple. And they're all almost identical. They're basically the same besides like a couple differences, but so I decided instead of talking about one figure on its own and doing a bunch of reviews for all the individual figures and them being almost the same, why not just do a video on all the figures? Now here we have almost all the buildable figures. There are two missing, the Captain America one and the Miles one. I do have the Miles one, it's just not here with me right now, it's somewhere else. Also, a quick little disclaimer, almost all of them have been modified in some way or another. And you'll probably see a pattern. I'll go through them from first release to most recent. And you'll probably notice a pattern how the older ones got the most modifications and newer ones got the least amount of modifications. So the first figure in what is called the Construction line, they're called Construction figures, the Iron Man figure. And a common problem with the first few Construction figures was that their shoulders were placed in really low down. If you have the Iron Man figure or have seen pictures of it, you will know that the arms are actually like down here, but like they add shoulder pads to kind of hide that detail. I don't know why they do it. They have fixed it in more recent figures. It's not really a problem anymore, but on the older figures it was a problem. And most of the problems with the figures are common among all of them. I have fixed all of them on the Iron Man figure, but most common problems, I'll just list them off here, would be the awkwardly proportioned heads, the awkward shoulders, the flat chest, flat butt, and kind of awkward like hip joints. Now, all of these problems have been fixed on the Iron Man figure. And also another thing is short arms. The arms are kind of short, but that's because they're placed low down. So the easiest way to fix most of these problems would be push up the shoulders, just like up stud, and then that kind of fixes most of the proportions up top, and then extend the arms by like a stud as well. And yeah, he's the most modified. His head, I actually gave him a neck. He's the only one to have a proper neck like this. And if you know, one of the details of him is that he's got a little light up arc reactor. It actually shines on the camera, giving it a cool effect. It actually wasn't too bad of a figure, but it's probably the worst proportionally and just the least interesting to look at. I will continue to talk about most of the problems with the figures, but if you were to get this figure, this is not at all what he would look like. This is almost completely modified, and he's the most modified. Now, after the Iron Man figure came out, and I would assume it was a big hit because afterwards they released 3 Spider-Man figures. Spider-Man, Venom, and Miles. Again, I will not be showing Miles because not only is he exactly the same as Spider-Man, but I also don't have him here. Spider-Man is actually a lot less modified than Iron Man. Iron Man is my most modified one. And as you can see, a lot of the details, like the flimsy, almost toy-looking neck instead of the natural, more organic-looking neck. The very flat body that has almost no depth compared to the bulky chest and actual existence of a butt compared to flat nothingness. And one thing that I like, so the Iron Man figure, almost every detail was a sticker, no prints besides the face. But every other figure to come after has no stickers, which, if you know anything, if you've opened one LEGO set, you know that stickers are a nightmare. But especially on this Spider-Man figure, the prints are almost spotless. They're like super clean. Like, look at that. There's almost no gap right there. That's pretty cool. I kind of wish there were more printed pieces. Like, I kind of wish we got some more of this printed piece for down here on the legs. But it's fine. Another detail that like kind of kind of gets highlighted is the short arms and long hands. The hands are weirdly long, which I actually fixed on the Iron Man one. And Lego, again, like I said, Lego is really awkward with proportions. Along with this one, they also made a Venom to go along with it. And this Venom figure is pretty interesting. He's a little more modified than Spider-Man. With Venom here, what I did, I moved up the shoulders, bulked out the chest, and flattened the back, because for some reason they had the back puff out way too much. So I flattened it a little bit, puffed up the chest, bulked up the shoulders and head, and kind of, because Venom, he was a little almost flimsy looking, so I bulked him up a lot. The shoulders, they won't look like this. I completely changed the shoulders. I kind of did a similar thing with Iron Man, where instead of being attached to the body, I attached them to the arm, so it allows for a little more free movement. Same thing with Venom, although I did it a little better, so you get a little more range of movement. I also bulked up the kind of neck muscles to just make it a little bulkier and more organic. And I also pushed up the shoulders and extended the arms. But besides that, that's pretty much all I did for modifications. Although one problem, and this is, I'm not sure if this is just a personal problem with me or if this is just, but Lego has recently redesigned these hinge joints here. If you notice on my Iron Man one, it's like kind of half and half, so it's like even, but here the top clip is like really thin compared to the bottom, which is a lot thicker. So it leaves, I'm not sure if that's the direct cause of it, but it leaves the joints very, very, very floppy. But it's strange because other figures like Batman over here, which we'll get to eventually, the joints are a lot stiffer. Which I don't know if it's just a personal thing with this, but in my opinion, I feel like Lego pieces are getting a lot looser and flimsier, because I've noticed it with other things. Just in general, newer Lego pieces, at least for a certain period, were kind of felt a little flimsy and loose. But I don't know, that could just be me. Now, again, going back to the faces, so I said earlier that they use this one panel piece for most of the characters, and it works pretty good with like characters like Spider-Man and Iron Man, but characters like Venom, it really kind of lacks. Like here, they've, instead of making like a custom piece or even making it brick built, they've kind of just printed the teeth on here, which looks fine for the bottom jaw, but does not work at all for the top. It looks kind of very fake and flimsy, and it looks like paper, kind of. But if you ever want to take the tongue out and close his mouth, it looks really weird, and it looks like he's like curling back his top lip, kind of. But yeah, his tongue is cool though. It's accurate to the character, and yeah, it looks good. I like the tongue, so I normally just leave it in there, even though Venom's not. He doesn't always have his tongue out. Anyways, after the Spider-Man figures came out, the Quantumania movie, or Ant-Man Quantumania came out, and they made a construction figure for Ant-Man, and that was the next one to come out. And this one was probably, I don't think this one did very well. I don't think many people bought it, because I'm pretty sure, I don't know if the movie did good or not, but I don't think very many people bought this. Bringing in the box to kind of show what he's supposed to look like compared to what I made him look like. Now, I did very similar modifications to other characters. Like I pushed up the shoulders because you can see they're concerningly low on the box. Lego, I'm pretty sure Lego is aware that the proportions are really awkward, because they actually try and hide a lot of the awkwardness. But yeah, I moved the shoulders up, extended the arms, and the hands, they actually made them a little smaller this time, so they look a little more natural, and they actually have a lot of posability. And that's pretty much all I did. I also bumped out the back a little bit to give it a more natural curve to it. And probably one of the biggest things I did was completely change the head design. Now, if you notice on here, for some reason they gave him this massive pacifier looking thing, which looks stupid as heck. And actually, if you look at the actual Ant-Man on the box, you can see that what the pacifier is attempting to be, this tiny little, almost like breathing apparatus, is almost so small you can't even see it. So what I decided to almost just completely remove that bottom bit, and instead just move these up because that's a lot more accurate to the what it's supposed to look like. So I just removed this giant pacifier looking thing, and it just looks way better. Now, Ant-Man does come with a small accessory, being a microfigure of the Wasp, which is a nice inclusion. In my opinion, I really wish LEGO did a lot more micro figures, because these are really fun little trinkety pieces. And speaking of which, now that I'm talking about accessories, I guess I should have mentioned that Spider-Man does come with webs. Spider-Man does come with webs and stuff, which I forgot to mention. So, this Ant-Man figure is probably one of my most favorite of most of the construction figures, because not only do they get most of the proportions a little more natural looking, the body actually feels a little more bulky, a little more natural, but also, for those of you who don't know who Ant-Man is, one of Ant-Man's main powers is being able to grow and shrink to whatever size he wants. Like, he can grow up to be Giant Man or shrink down to be microscopic Ant-Man. So you get situations where this would make sense, or this makes sense. So yeah, he's very compatible with a lot of figures you have. And if you I mean, it's probably a very good way to get an Ant-Man figure without getting an Ant-Man figure, because if you're only going to grab one or two, I suggest grabbing the Ant-Man, because you can at least use it for other things. Like, you can play with it, you could have him kick Hulk if you really wanted to, or even have him get taken down by Spider-Man. You ever seen that one movie with the Star Wars guys and the stuff? Yeah. Subscribe to Mr. Tayo 7. So after the kind of flop that was this Ant-Man figure, LEGO, I would assume that LEGO decided to completely redesign their figures, because they don't use this helmet piece anymore. Or this face piece anymore. They kind of changed it. So after this, they made 2 more Marvel ones, and then after made 1 more non-Marvel DC one. So after this one, they made the Captain America and Wolverine ones. Now, when this figure was announced and revealed, I was actually quite surprised, because, I mean, when was the last time LEGO did something X-Men related? But, so if anybody has been on the internet, you'd probably know that Deadpool 3, a lot of teaser stuff has been leaked, and it's been shown Deadpool and Wolverine fighting in front of this 20th Century Fox logo. Now, with the recent wave of LEGO and merchandise making X-Men and Wolverine stuff, I feel like this is kind of hinting that and also the fact that Marvel now owns 20th Century Fox, I feel like that's hinting that X-Men is joining the MCU. That's just my theory. But anyways, into the actual figure. So I feel like now would probably be a good time to talk about how the figures are not really based off anything specific. Like, it's kind of inconsistent. So we have Iron Man and Ant-Man, and they're clearly based off the MCU. This is the Mark 43 Iron Man suit, which is the one that goes with the Hulkbuster. And then this is Quantumania Ant-Man, so those are both clearly based off movies, but Wolverine and Spider-Man and pretty much every other character is based off of, like, comics or cartoons. Now, this Wolverine figure is clearly based off the comics. And actually, I'm gonna ruin Wolverine for everyone. His mask is actually two Batman kissing. I know it sounds weird, but just look at it. Now, just look. Now, you can never unsee that. You're welcome. Now with Wolverine, so the proportions, so all the other figures, they have 4 fingers and pretty simple looking hands. But with Wolverine, since Wolverine has the 3 claws coming out, so Wolverine, his claws come out from in each individual knuckle. But since the characters only had 3 fingers, they actually had to bump his fingers up to 5 fingers. Now it does kind of leave the hand looking a little strange, but it's probably because the highlight is not supposed to be the hand, but the actual claws. But it does look a little odd, especially from some angles where his hands look massive. But yeah, the claws are pretty good here. This figure I've done almost no modifications to besides the head. Because for some reason, with this figure, LEGO decided to give him like a Venom slouch. Like they propped his head like this joint originally like faced that way and like kind of made his head slouch down like this, which I understand Wolverine is supposed to be kind of like an animal like character, like he's a Wolverine, which is an animal. But I feel like his slouch just really does not fit him, in my opinion. And around the same time that they announced Captain America and Wolverine being made into construction figures, they also announced that they were going to do the Dark Knight himself, Batman. Yep, and here we have it. The Dark Knight himself, Batman. Now, he was also kind of surprised and kind of makes me excited for the future of these buildable figures, because if they're willing to expand out into DC, I kind of hope they expand out into like Star Wars and even other things. So, yeah, here he's probably the best one and probably the only one that you don't have to modify at all to have a good figure. Because not only are his proportions probably the best, because he's actually got an actual, at least slightly bulky chest, so you don't have to worry about puffing that out anymore. He's actually got a set of abs, which looks pretty cool. They attempted to do abs on Wolverine, but didn't look too good. Excuse the shine. There we go, I just turned down the brightness a little. Anyways, so yeah. So he's the most recent one to come out and probably the best proportionally, because not only are his shoulders actually up where they're supposed to be, but also the shoulder problem just kind of doesn't really exist, because if you know anything about Batman, he's very stiff. At least in more recent years, Batman is known for being a stiff brick, but still capable. Like pretty much everything above his chest is not really usable. Like he can't turn his head, he can't move his arms up, he can't really do much of that. But it's kind of like what makes him stronger, because like he can do all that without moving. He can do pretty much everything without the use of his neck and shoulders. But yeah. So this Batman figure here, it also fixes the head problem. It has a more, while it still does have the kind of toy, flimsy looking neck, it at least fixes the awkward shape of the head, so now it looks way more natural. And they also, they with the cape, it's probably the highlight of the set. It's actually a pretty nice looking cape. It feels really nice. It has a lot of weight, so it doesn't just like flap out. It is a little thin, so you can see through it. The camera makes it look a little worse than it actually is, but the kind of lack of butt problem is kind of hidden by this, so I'm not worried about modifying it or anything. But now, like I said earlier about these figures not really being based off of anything specific, this Batman figure kind of takes from that, because this figure is a little jarring, because from some details, like the kind of chest and the coloring, kind of looks like Michael Keaton Batman. But then like with the belt, arm blades, and then the shape of the head, it kind of looks like Christian Bale Batman. So you have a little bit of 89 Batman and Dark Knight Batman all together, which which is probably a good thing. They took from two of the greatest Batman and kind of morphed them together to make this pretty decent looking Batman. Like he's a little skinnier, a little more slim, kind of like Christian Bale Batman. He's not too bulky. Actually, a lot of the Batman actors are not really that bulky, besides like Ben Affleck, who is pretty bulky. But yes, this Batman figure is probably one of the best out of them all, and you don't need to modify him at all. Although one problem that I probably should have mentioned earlier is that a lot of these figures do not come with any accessories at all. Iron Man, no accessories. Venom, no accessories. Spider-Man and Ant-Man are the only ones to technically have accessories, but with Ant-Man it's more so of a little figure to go along with it. It's not really an accessory, but none of these characters really have accessories, except for Captain America, who has the shield. But yeah, so this Batman does not have any accessories, so I took one of these little kind of bat-shaped shield panel things. Here it is. So this comes in a lot of Batman related sets, especially nowadays, but I thought it would be good as a kind of action figure scale Batarang. So overall, these figures are really good, and I enjoy them a lot, which is why I have collected almost every single one. But they do require a lot of modifications. Like if you want the perfect figure, like the perfect Lego figure, but don't want or have the pieces to make to customize them, then I suggest you look elsewhere because there are probably better figures out there. But this is good if you have, because they're kind of at a steep price, ranging from $25 to almost $50. This Iron Man one being the most expensive, but this one was a lot older and also had a light brick. But yeah, these figures are pretty fun, and if you have the time and patience and money to be able to modify them to your liking, then I heavily suggest picking them up. But in my opinion, if I were to change one thing about this line, it would probably be to simply just add more villains, because so far we only have one villain, if you want to count Venom as a villain. Looking at comics and stuff, Venom is a bad guy, but in more recent media, Venom has kind of been seen as an anti-hero, because in the Venom movies he's a good guy and like the main protagonist and not a bad guy. So yeah, I would like to see I'd like to see, like, in the future, I want to see like a Thor to go along with like Captain America and the rest of them. I want to see them complete the Avengers, maybe even complete the Justice League, maybe even a Deadpool to go along with Wolverine. And maybe for some bad guys, you could have Loki, you could have Ultron to go kind of with Avengers and Iron Man. You could even even like start creating these larger, like kind of maybe $50 or $60 sets where they're larger, like to make Hulk and like maybe Thanos and other characters like that are like larger. Then you could even create like Juggernaut to go with the X-Men and Wolverine and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm really excited for the future of these because I feel like a lot of these characters do tease and hint at more characters to come. So yeah, if you've enjoyed today's video, please like and subscribe and go check out and hit the notification bell. And go check out my community tab because I post there occasionally as well. And also make sure to comment if you have any ideas about any characters you would like to see in the construction figure line. And yeah, until next video, bye bye.